Mr. Harris. We're excited to have you on the podcast tonight.
Happy to be here for sure.
Fantastic. So let's go ahead and just start by just give everybody a brief overview of who you are. You got your fingers in a lot of pies.
Yeah.
So just kind of give us an overview of the things you're involved in, and we'll jump into it from there.
Yeah, so top down, I'm dad, husband, family of 7 kids.
I love that you led off with that. It shows where your priorities are.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, they're expensive. And so
that's where your money is spent. That's where your heart is.
Yeah. So, my wife and I just actually this weekend celebrated 19 years.
Congrats. Wow, congrats.
So we're excited about that. Just, we're defying the odds and not becoming the statistic as it were. So started out real young, made it work, had lots of problems.
Really young? How young did you get married?
So she was 18 and I was 19.
Okay.
So
really
she was
young.
already pregnant with our first, which is my oldest now. He's 19.
Wow.
So long time ago.
That is crazy. Interesting.
And then I've got, somebody in almost every age range, of course, and my youngest is 2.
Oh, man. So you still, you're not out of the woods yet at all. You still got your hands full.
Yeah, it is. They're pretty full. So the older ones are pretty good about taking care of the younger ones.
There you go.
But
you raise up kids and train them to.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that's
to
delegation
run
right
businesses
there.
and
Correct.
change diapers. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, you got the whole range there.
That's right.
That's awesome. Okay, so that's your family, and what else you got going on?
Yeah, so I also pastor a church. It's it's as involved as I want it to be for where it is. That's really why my wife and I moved to Florida. Our passion's always been ministry and helping people however we knew how. And so what we found, though, is a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times ministry doesn't pay the bills we want, but it wasn't something we wanted to give up. So I just have always been entrepreneurial had that mindset. And for me, it was a little bit of selfishness. I just wanted to be in control of my schedule. I wanted to be in control of, if I wanted to go to a meeting or something out of town, being able to just go and not have that, how it is with full-time jobs. You have to find out if you can take the time off and have vacation.
Yeah, you're requesting.
Yeah. So on top of that, just having the limitation of income. So my first big successful business, because I've started a lot of unsuccessful businesses. Most entrepreneurs you talk to probably,
just gonna say, many entrepreneurs have. Yeah.
And had a t-shirt company, had a couple online companies. And so my first successful was power washing. And I didn't know really what I was doing, but I got online and I searched for, and I think it's a misconception. I wasn't searching for something that I enjoyed. You can do a lot of things that you don't enjoy for a short amount of time.
Correct.
If the money's right.
Yeah.
So I looked for something that was a low entry point as far as cost goes, high profit margins, and really for our area, it fits great because it's almost year round.
Yeah.
So it's been about 6 years, and I've really, I've really grown that business into something that can not only support my family but support other business ideas, right? Because the cash flows there, and it's a relatively easy business to run. So through that, pardon me, my wife and I. Pardon me again.
No, you're good.
We found a coffee shop that we loved to hang out at.
That's where I met you.
Right.
Or connected with you.
Yeah. So we decided we didn't want to start another business, but we wanted to buy a business that was already going. And so that was the route we took with the coffee shop. It had been in business for 2 years prior to us. And so it had been around for a while. Definitely popular on the UWF circle.
Yeah, it's up there on 9 Mile where there's a lot of traffic.
Right. And the atmosphere is fantastic. People can come in, they can sit and enjoy. It's not real fast paced.
Yeah.
There's no drive through up there. So you can just come in and veg.
Yeah.
And the atmosphere is fantastic. The coffee is, I'm a little biased, but it's second to none. It's good coffee. So that's kind of where that was. And it kind of made us, we learned a lot from that experience. Of course, we still have the shop, but just holding on to that through COVID and
how did things change for the shop during COVID? Did you guys have to shut down at all?
Yeah, so we had to shut down. Actually, I think it's been right at 12 months since we shut down. It was the end of March, so just short of 12 months. End of March, we shut down for the last week of March, all of April, and I got tired of it.
Yeah.
So I opened back up 1st of May.
Good for you.
Yeah, 1st of May.
We're done with this.
We're done. We're not doing this. We took all the precautions that we thought were necessary at the time.
Yeah.
And but we lost a chunk of money.
I'll bet you did.
All our profits for the year essentially are gone during that month.
Wow.
Wow.
Where you're just not operating at all. Mm-hmm.
Right. And we were still paying rent, and we chose not to participate in a lot of the government funds and things that were available just out of counsel. The counsel that we had was, hey, it sounds good, it may work, but you may end up having to pay it back.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, we don't even want to play
We're not
that
interested
game.
in any
Right.
loans.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Especially when, when you know who holds the loan.
Yeah.
You know?
Correct. Yeah.
So I didn't want to have that chance, and because we didn't know what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we were closed for right at 6 weeks, came back to very slow. Business flow was super slow.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people didn't even realize that you were open. That was how it was for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just getting people back in the groove of knowing we were here. But so much of our business revolved around UWF being open, so they sent everybody home.
Yeah, yeah.
So they didn't even actually start coming back full campus. And I don't even know if they still are, but more of them February of this year.
Okay.
That's how long it's been since we've really seen.
Okay. So probably the pressure's lifted just a little bit for you now in the last month or so.
Yeah, it's a little bit less. There's always a catch up, right? That's there because that 6 weeks is gone, or you never get that back. People won't come in and say, you know what? During COVID, I didn't come in and buy my 5 coffees.
I'll buy an extra coffee now.
Yeah, let me go ahead and get those now. They
Yeah.
just don't,
All right, we got a
do that.
to-do list item for tomorrow, Dan.
Yeah, 5 coffees each. But we're getting there. The pace is coming back. What we are missing still is people that are having meetings, coming to coffee shops to have meetings. They aren't doing that. There's still Zoom meetings, and so we're not seeing a lot of that like we used to.
Do you think that will ever come back in full of where it was before?
I think it has to. I don't know that it's going to be like in the next 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
But I think ultimately people are getting tired of not having connections.
Yeah, it's different in real life.
Yeah. And I think just as an underlying humanistic principle, we have to have those
That
connections with people.
Yeah.
And so I think that we're in a great state to keep moving forward and, keep I guess the right word is regain momentum, because we had momentum when we first came in.
Yeah.
New owners, fresh shop. We were excited. We were doing crazy, fun things.
Mm-hmm.
And then
got cut off at the knees
you
a little
steam kind of you lose your steam. So we're trying to just get back into it and really start being more effective in our community, really, is what it boils down to. So.
Interesting. Okay. And we can come back to, I feel like there's a lot of things here. We could take one episode and just talk about the coffee shop or the t-shirt company,
for sure.
So those are t-shirt company, coffee shop, and then.
Yeah. So power washing
is
one of our big things. And of course, having success in some of those areas, one of my biggest things, maybe from a ministerial standpoint, is being able to help other business owners to the best of my ability.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I can do, just like anything else, is take the experience that I have, the knowledge that I have, the lessons that I've learned, and more or less, consult and coach other business owners that have been in this position or similar to be able to kind of flatten the curve, for lack of a better term, between starting out and success.
Yeah.
And trying to kind of demystify that a little bit. There's a lot of misconceptions about what it takes to go from really any business structure is pretty much the same. You're trying to achieve the same goal. You're trying to bring attention to your message, bring awareness to your message and ultimately get people to respond.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So every business is like that. Every company essentially has that same underlying model that's there. But what I found with pressure washing was it's such an easy model to scale. So I said, well, what other businesses are like this that I can help someone really, flatten that curve? So what I did was I started just kind of analyze the steps that I take and that I took to get to where I was.
Because now you've done it several few times.
done it.
Yeah.
And so we started to document, all those steps. Hey, this is what it's going to take to get there. And so what we do is and my wife's, very helpful in that area is we help other business owners. And a lot of times it's service-based businesses.
Okay.
So when I say that, I mean janitorial, power washing, auto detailing, things where you're not necessarily having an inventory or brick and mortar. There's a lot more that goes into that.
You're going out and performing a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The process is the same. You're still trying to get people attracted to your message and, get their attention and then, of course, sell them something, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's a cup of coffee, a T-shirt, a power washing job, or even a coaching package.
Yeah.
It's all the same. And so, but what I have found is there's a lot of business out there that need help. Many of them just don't know that they need help, And so it's a better utilization of my time. All my other businesses are running pretty much without me. They definitely have oversight, but it's something where I can step away and say, yeah, now I want to help other people. Of course, it opens my client base up to the United States or further.
Much bigger, Yeah, not just local.
So that's kind of where I see me going. In the next few years of my life is just to be able to help other businesses. I don't know that I'll start another business. Like I said earlier, wasn't really like something looking back, like it's enjoyable. I love the adventure of starting a new business. And there are people out there that's all they do is start businesses.
Yeah. That's really what fires me up,
Yeah.
is opportunity.
Right.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You can drive down the road and you can see opportunity anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
In where we live, whether it's Florida, United States, there's no lack of opportunity to make money.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So I've shown people how to make money. Literally, like you can start a business for under $100, and you can make it a $10,000 a month business. I mean, could you imagine that? Like,
that's pretty nice.
Here's $100. How can I turn my $100 into $100K this year?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is asking the right questions.
It is, yeah. And you have to get over doing the things that you want to do, right? So oftentimes we do the things we have to do, so that later on we can do the things we want to do.
And you kind of touched on that in the very beginning. I feel like that's something that's so common. Find something you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. How do you feel about that saying?
Yeah, I don't agree with it.
That's what I was going to say, but I didn't want to contradict. I just feel like it's something that you do what you have to do. Like you said, you do what's effective, and then you can do what you want to do.
Right.
But what you enjoy doing, if that may not pay the bills.
Yeah.
You have to sometimes you just have to put your head down and just work at something that is going to provide for you to have something you want down the road.
Right. And that's exactly right. And, a lot of times people will develop hobbies, which hobbies are good and they have a spot, right? But when we try to transition our hobbies into things that make us money, the pressure goes up on our hobby. So now what was relaxing,
you start to enjoy it less.
Now you're like, I need it to cover its own expenses. Now I want it, it's time consuming. It's taking all my time. Michael Gerber, if you've read the book E-Myth.
I've heard very good things about that.
So one of the first stories that he writes, and I relate to this a lot, is he and I'm probably going to butcher the story. So
I'm sure if Michael Gerber listens to this, he won't be mad.
Okay. So he essentially uses the example of a baker, and this lady says she loves and enjoys baking pies. She does it as a hobby out of her house. All of her friends are like, "Oh, you should open a business, baking pies. You're just such a great pie baker. This is your thing." So she does, and so she ends up getting a loan to start her business, and she has to buy equipment, and she has to have a place to put it, and she starts advertising, but she's the one doing the work, and so she's up there at 4 a.m., she's making all this product, she's doing the books, she's doing the marketing, she's running operations,
wearing all the hats.
Everything, and then she's maybe getting home at midnight just to go back and do it again. Well, look, after 6 months of doing that, you hate making pies, right?
Yeah.
So often we try to, we hire wrong. And that's what he's really talking about is like, she's the entrepreneur in the picture. Like she's the dreamer. She's the creative. She's the communicator. And what she's done is she's demoted herself twice. So she's gone from entrepreneur to manager just to run operations, but then she's demoted herself again to technician.
Yeah,
right?
to the baker.
Yeah. So what we have to do as businesses, and this is one of the things that I talk about with my clients, is it's making sure that you set your business up to delegate later, even if you're brand new. Or you still want to set up your business in order to minimize your personal active processes. And all that comes down to is developing systems. A lot of new business owners don't even know what that means. What does that mean, develop systems?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, we talk about systems a good amount on the podcast, but it's such a important topic. And like you said, there's so many people who either don't do it or don't even understand it. So give a rundown of what systems are.
Yeah, so I was talking with a client this morning, and she had that same question. Like, everybody tells me I need systems. What does that mean? So for me, the way I do things, everybody's different, but the way I do things, I love a mind map. Okay. If you ever familiar with an X-Mind?
I have a buddy who is obsessed with it, but I've never really dipped my foot into it.
So I won't say I'm obsessed with it, but it really helps me clarify and get clarity on where everything is. And so I just started a mind map for her company name. And then essentially, if you were the CEO of your company at $1 million a year, how would you have it separated out, right? What departments would you have? And so I just asked her, what departments would she have? Well, she'd have a marketing department. She'd have operations. She'd have human resources. Yeah. She'd have all these departments. Go through those departments, and then in each one, what are they responsible for? What's human resources responsible for? Well, they're responsible for hiring standards and payroll and all these things. And then within each one of those, now I said, begin to develop your process for how you handle these things. Yeah. And I think a lot of times, especially with people that are moving from their 9-to-5 or working for somebody else to being an entrepreneur that's working for yourself, we forget that there are no rules, right? We get to create these rules.
Yeah. So
we're trying to develop these systems that look like other companies' systems, and sometimes that's okay to have that basic framework.
Yeah.
But it's your company. Like if you want operations to run payroll, fine. You know, operations now runs payroll, right? Yeah. So it's your company.
It's about finding what's most effective for your model.
For your company. Yeah. So that's really what I walked her through, was how do you separate, and then all your systems and processes have to make sure that there's equality in those.
Yeah.
You know, that you're holding everyone to the same standards. And this is really what sets apart what I call Beer Money Bob, the company owner, that all they're in it for is what they can get on the side while they still have their 9-to-5er. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
If that's your dream, right? Your goal, if you're an entrepreneur.
You want to
scale. And I even suggest, would you ever be able to sell your business? Right? Is it set up in such a way that it revolves around you, or can you walk away from your business and it still operate? And I think Robert Kiyosaki's rule is, if you can walk away from your business for 1 year and come back and it's still running, then it's considered passive, right?
Yeah.
Other than that, you have a job.
It's a job, yeah.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people, I relate everything to real estate because obviously that's what we're in.
Sure.
A lot of realtors don't view themselves as business people or as entrepreneurs or even CEOs of their own business, which essentially, you know, if you're the one out selling and making money, bringing home commissions, you are a business, you know? But I think a lot of people on top of that, even if they treat it like a business, I just lost my train of thought, man. What were we just talking about? I was on a roll.
Yeah. Systems, processes.
Yeah. You were just saying how, if you can step away from it,
right.
then it's considered a business. That's what it was. Sorry about that. So I think that's the other thing too, is everybody has everything up here and they never actually operate like a business.
Sure.
Even if you're the only person in the business, you still have to have those systems. You can't just fly by the seat of your pants. And I think a lot of people, they just do it because they never take the time.
And they get stuck there.
Yeah.
Right? They get stuck because they don't know how to turn something over to somebody else, even the simple things, you know. And I think the rule should always be, as a business owner, is get as much off your plate that you aren't required to do. That's why VAs are so popular right now. Virtual assistants are so popular because as a real estate agent, You don't have to take your phone calls if you don't want to.
Yeah.
Right? You can get a VA to set all your appointments for you.
Yeah.
Do you need to set your own appointments?
No,
you don't.
Yeah.
So it's taken that. But what we tend to do is we tend to maybe get a little bit prideful about all the things that we do.
Only I can do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what it's kind of gotten me in trouble before. Matter of fact, quick story. I was sitting across from somebody at a table, and they looked at me and they were impressed, right? As some people could be. To me, I'm just me. But I have these four businesses, 7 kids, been married forever. Like, wow, you get all this. How do you do all this stuff? And I'm just being completely humble here tonight. Like, I took that pridefully. Like, oh, yeah, look at what all I can handle. So what did I do? I started adding stuff. I was like, look, I handle everything so well. Well, it ends up biting you. And you're like,
scoop more onto the
what
plate.
am I doing here?
Interesting.
Well, and what you find out is your plate size didn't change.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We actually were out to dinner with another realtor the other day, and he used that same he had a burger, and he was like, if you take things off the plate and move it, then you have less on your plate, but the plate size doesn't change.
Right.
It was that exact same thing. And I was like, man, that's interesting.
It's true.
Yeah.
And we do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. So now, you're in a business where you're like, how can I take more off of my plate? And there's a lot of emotional things that you go through because you feel like guilty a little bit, like I'm not doing enough. Well, maybe that you're just not doing enough of the right things. Right. So in my businesses, the one-on-one interaction with the customers are what I do best. So for power washing, I don't need to go run the sprayer. Like that can be taught very easily. That's a tech position. I'm not required to drive the truck. I don't need to swipe the card for fuel. I don't need to do those things. What I need to do is I need to make sure my guys are booked. Like that's my job.
Yeah.
And so I don't do those other things unless I have to. I make sure my jobs are booked because what I've found is if I have to book the jobs and do the jobs, I'll pull back on the booking.
It's that classic roller coaster.
Yeah.
Because I don't have time. I don't want to do that job. Whatever the reason is, right?
Yeah.
So I found that if I'm the one doing and booking and doing the jobs, then I pull back so much on the booking that then you end up losing money.
Yeah,
that's good. We're going through a similar process with our business. I say our business. More
Is there
Mike.
something making noise over there?
I think it's my phone buzzing.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
I thought it was the AC for a second.
Sorry, my
No,
bad.
you're fine.
That's
You're fine.
okay.
We'll just cut that out.
I have a podcast appointment right now. So.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, that's funny.
I'll just clip that little snippet
Yeah,
out.
we'll
No,
just cut that
no problem. No problem. There's been worse.
I'm sorry. What were you saying?
No, all I was saying is that's an interesting. It's an interesting lesson to teach because it's hard to learn, and we've just been learning it ourselves lately. How Mike is the rainmaker; he's the one that goes and finds business, and then he hired me to help him coordinate those transactions and make sure everything went smoothly, which is still in the process of refinement.
Right.
But now we're kind of getting to that point where that needs to be his focus, and I can take everything else that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. I don't need to be ordering a survey.
Yeah.
I don't need to call in and schedule these like showings.
But
so
it's
there's
a principle that's hard to learn. It's easier just to have someone like you be like, hey, I actually learned it the hard way. Here's what you do to make that happen.
Yeah. So everything that you're doing now, document it.
Yeah.
Right. And then just keep changing the document as you refine the process, and then you've got a system. That way, I don't mean this negatively, but if you're ever out of that position, somebody else can be dropped into that position.
Correct.
Yes,
and write it like I always tell everybody, write like a third grader. All your
So everybody can
processes
understand.
and stuff, write them. Yeah. Like you're a third grader. And, that's just a communication thing, right? Not using big words. We love to use big words when we're talking and things. But if you think about the best orators, the best communicators, they all spoke, I don't mean dumb, but like at a lower grade level.
Very simply.
Best communicator, recent communicator, like him or love him, Donald Trump. I mean, he knew how to connect with people, right?
Yeah.
Not because he had a big vocabulary, not that he doesn't, but he spoke to where people would connect and understand.
You always knew what he was meaning.
He was on. I mean, he was. Yeah, there was never any beating around the bush.
Yeah.
And you take that and compare it to other speakers in the same realm of things, and sometimes the words get bigger. People don't really understand what they're saying. Whatever. So as far as your processes and your systems in a company, same thing, right? You don't need legal jargon. There's a place for that, but it's not in making sure that somebody orders a survey.
Yeah.
Right? That needs to be crystal clear so that anybody can be dropped in that position and you're not there to train them. They know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the forefront of developing all your systems and processes.
So what advice would you give to any business owners then who are trying to filter through and determine, okay, this needs my personal touch or this doesn't?
Yeah, and that's a very, very simple question you have to ask yourself. So a lot of what we do as a coach is I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to say, what is it that you don't have to do? Oh, well, and people will tell you, and you have to answer these honestly. Well, I have to be the one that drops off muffins at the real estate office, right? Why? Why do you have to do that? Well, because I know so-and-so over there, and,
Yeah.
So what we have to do as business owners is we have to say 100% performance is never going to happen, right? Ever.
Yeah.
So the first thing we have to do is lower our expectations of our crew, because there's nobody that's ever going to run your business like you do. There's no one that's ever going to have the vision for your business, for your ministry like you do. You can raise people up and you can teach them and train them. And there are people that care, but there's never going to be someone who cares like you care, right? Like I have 7 kids. No one is going to love my kids like a dad like I am.
Yeah.
Right?
Good example.
Now, there may be somebody else that can babysit those kids or whatever.
And
I'm not explaining. I'm not expecting them to be a dad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting them to make sure my kids stay alive for an hour.
Don't
right?
burn the house down.
So did the muffins make it? That's all we care about, right? We don't care if you talk to Betty at the front desk and if she's doing okay.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure that the product made it the right place, the right time, and made it the right person. So
did the muffins make it? Take
it down to 90%, expectations on employees and delegates, people you're delegating. It just, because we have this in our head, it's a vision. We have we expect the way things to go, but then there's reality, which is how we all do things differently, So when you can say, okay, well, it's not quite how I would do it, but it's okay.
Done. Yeah.
Then not only are you empowering that person to make a decision, thus by preventing micromanaging, right? You're also saying your decision was a good decision. It was good, Plus it took the workload off of you. Last year I had somebody, all they did was answer my phones. That's it. Oh my gosh, the amount of time I had back.
I'll bet.
Just from not answering the phone and making appointments and things like that. So can you find someone else to answer your phone? If that's the thing that's taking up your time, right? Versus the thing that only you can do. So you're a real estate agent, only you can sell a house, right? If you're not a licensed real estate agent, there are certain things that only you can do.
Yeah.
Right? So anything that is not related to that, we're starting to delegate. We're starting to find somebody that can take care of marketing.
Yeah.
Right? We're starting to find somebody that can handle phones coming in. We're starting to find somebody that can order the surveys and the appraisals, and we're finding someone who can do those things.
So we've been talking a lot about the different processes and systems mainly. That's been what we've been discussing. But I was really intrigued by, as I said before we hit record, we could talk about a lot of different things, but I think you bring unique experience to the table in regards to the coaching and consulting. So at what point, and you kind of already touched on this, but at what point did you decide to make that transition from owning and operating businesses, which is, I'm sure, exciting and you have a passion for, to, okay, I can teach this, and I can charge to teach this.
Sure. And I think there's a lot of emotional things, maybe even life events that go into that. But starting something is difficult, right? Starting anything is difficult. Sometimes for guys like us, that's the part we enjoy. But once it's started, like sometimes we lose interest, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's not uncommon, and it's not unacceptable. But what I have found is it can be expensive.
Yeah, just moving from one thing to the next.
Yeah, and that's not because you always are going to have a visionary, right? And that's the visionary's job. As soon as I say I'm stuck here, then I have demoted myself from visionary or communicator to muscle, right? Management or actual muscle labor. And each one of those positions brings a different value to the workplace.
Each is necessary.
Right?
Yeah.
All are necessary, but not all are equal. All have importance. But there's a value that's brought differently from muscle versus a creator, right? A visionary, someone that can get up, project an idea, and have management and muscle fall in and say, yeah, let's do this, and grab that vision. So for me, what I found was I had a lot to offer, and it wasn't me spraying houses, right? That's valuable to the homeowner.
Yeah.
That's it, just to the homeowner. It's valuable to me as far as an income goes, but I wasn't adding value to anyone in doing that.
You're just going and doing a job.
That's right. And there's nothing wrong with it, so don't take it that way for anyone that's listening. But I felt like I needed to be in a position where I added value, to empowerment, for lack of a better word, to somebody else. And so that always comes at a cost, right? And we see that in the church model. We see it in the business model. Anytime you bring value, there's a cost associated with it. There's an investment associated with that. What they say is true. Those who pay attention. Those who pay more attention. So the difference between a paid client and an unpaid client, because everybody wants something for free.
Yeah.
They're called freeple, right? It's that person in your life that wants everything for free. Then the next step up is cheaple, people that want a discount, right? I want what you have, but I want a discount on it.
Yeah.
Right? We all know these people. And so
and if you don't know any, you probably are that person.
You are that person if you don't know them, right? And so you have these people, and when they don't pay, when they make the like I've done free coaching, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's not that I can't bring the same value to somebody, but there is no value, right? Because there's been no exchange of value. Value is always exchanged, right? It's you exchange money for a book. The book adds value to you if you read it, right? Or you could even say status, right? You're exchanging status. We call them dollars for the hope of a higher status, which is your coaching, your training, your learning. We do it with college education, right? You're trading dollars for the value that the college is going to add to you, right? So coaching is no different. The accountability is something that, as a person who's hired a coach before, I have to have. A fitness coach, you ever hired a fitness coach? I want that guy breathing or girl breathing down my neck saying, why didn't you do your 10 push-ups?
Yeah.
Right? That's what I need to engage, right? So free coaching, it doesn't work because people blow you off. They don't make their appointments. They don't check in with you. They ignore you. There's no investment made. Paid coaching, they know where you are as the coach, and they want to know why you weren't on the phone call. But they're also willing to do anything that you ask them to do, right? They've put trust in you. So how this all started was I was going to make some videos. I was just going to do this, if you ever heard of Russell Brunson, he's got the potato gun, right? His big epiphany was, I'm going to sell these plans on the internet, on the Google, back when Google was brand new, for the potato gun, CO2 powered air compressor, whatever. So he sold these plans so somebody could build it. Well, that was his, that's where he started. He just made these videos, sold these videos. And so my thing was I'm just going to make these videos. I'm going to sit in front of a camera and I'm going to tell people how to start a business. I know how to do this, right? I can help you with marketing, building systems, employing people. And so I had somebody approach me and what do you think about doing these videos? And I said, yeah, I really want to. It takes a lot of time, energy, effort. And he said, well, I know somebody that may be able to help you out. skip the videos. And I said, well, I don't, okay, tell me about it. And he's like, well, it's a, great guy. It's another coach of coaches.
Yeah.
And he's like, he will work with you and get you to help you build a system that is essentially your coaching business. And he's like, well, how much do you think, this may blow your mind, you can cut it out later if you want to or whatever, but he's like, what are you going to sell for these, what are you going to sell these videos for? It's like, I don't know, man, $60 or something, just get it out on the internet and see what it does.
Yeah, just go for volume maybe.
Yeah, it's whatever. I can do the work once and it's passive. I don't have to worry about it. He's like, what if we developed your coaching program and you could sell each coaching package for $10,000? And I'm like, well, that's a big difference.
That's a lot of sales of $60.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And he's saying like per client, $10,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, I had a hard time buying it for myself. Like you have to qualify yourself. Like because now am I worth $10,000?
Yeah, that's one of my next questions.
Yeah.
Like, how do I value myself at $10,000?
Yeah.
And this was what helped me out a lot was he said, what can you offer people? And I said, well, I can get them easily is the key word, easily from starting point to $100K a year first year, if they'll do what I say. Right. And he's like, so if you charge somebody 10% of that, is that worth it?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, yeah.
And now they have a business that will presumably work for them.
They flatten the curve. So the question is like, what does it cost to not do it? Well, I know what my business can make in a year. And every year that I don't maximize the volume of my business, I'm leaving money on the table. Right? So 2 or 3 years of organic, we'll say organic versus coached growth, you're going to end up leaving literally hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table year 1 and year 2 until you have mastered your marketing, your system, your message,
it comes painfully
your
over time.
processes. Right? And there's a lot of hiccup there, right? Like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of dollars. Yeah, but what are you leaving on the table by not getting somebody who's gone through this, experienced this, and will be with you in the trenches, right? That's what a coach is all about.
That's right.
It's not just the system. It's like, I'm going to be there with you. I'm on the sidelines with you, cheering you on. Tell me about your wins,
Yeah.
And so I have a client that she just started, I think it's only been 4 weeks. And my goal for her is $10,000 a month in sales. And she was like at $1,300 or $1,400 for the month. And so by the end of week 4, she texted me and she's like, look, we're going to end up doing like almost $2,000 this week in sales. I'm like, that's a substantial difference.
Yeah,
you were doing that in a month, right?
Yeah.
And we've only been together for 4 weeks. And it's not a ton of money, but it's that snowball.
That's the
getting
thing.
it going.
Yeah.
And trying things and not wasting a lot of time doing things that don't work.
Yeah.
Right? So number one thing that every business wants, what do you think it is? You can answer this question. What do you want as a business owner? You said, if I could just get more, then things would be set.
I feel like a lot of people feel like leads. Yeah.
That's what they feel like it is.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we do is you have to retrain people because leads are not the problem.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
It's easy to get leads, relatively easy to get leads. Once you get going, you find an ad that works, you find a medium that works, you just pump money into it, right? Once you've mastered Google Ads, you just give it more money and it gives you more phone calls.
More people.
Right.
Yeah.
But what do you do with those people?
You got to follow up. You got to have a system.
You got to have something in place.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like at church, we call it closing the back door. If you get people in the front door, but you don't have a way to handle them, you don't have programs for their kids, let's just say you don't have enough seats, right? You don't have the things ready. It doesn't matter how good your ad is. It doesn't matter how many people called you. It doesn't matter how many people walked in the building. They're going to walk out mad, right? So leads aren't it. So I spend a lot of my time convincing people like, yeah, okay, we're going to get you leads. Leads take time to get sometimes. But what are you going to do when you have so many leads that you can't operate your business and you're frustrated and now you're ready to quit because you have so much business? New business owners don't see it because they're like, well, I want to be in that position.
Yeah.
Like, we can get you there.
Yeah.
But you don't want to get there, right? In the meantime, let's start developing these. So my whole goal is not a stress-free business growth, but frustration-free. You know, I want to be able to take you from 0 to at least $10,000 a month in sales, frustration-free. Right? It's just
there's always going to be stress.
Right.
The bottom line is running a business, it's going to be stressful.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting distinction because frustration is very different when you're having to spend your own money on things that have already been tested and maybe don't work.
And you don't like the DIYers. I'm a DIYer. I like to do things myself.
Yeah.
If I get on YouTube and I try to DIY myself to a successful business, there's going to be things that are missed. Right? That's the benefit of a system is I don't miss anything.
Yeah.
Like we go from step 1 to step 2 and then we go to step 3 and we don't skip step 3 to go to step 4. But if you're on YouTube and you're pulling this information,
getting fragmented,
you don't even know what you're missing.
Yeah.
You don't know what's not being given to you. Right. So to take somebody through a stress-free business or frustration-free and not stress-free essentially is you have a place to go where you can say, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know you do. And I think that's the answer for most business owners is when they get stuck or stalled, it's not that they're not trying.
Yeah.
It's not that they're not putting 100% of their effort into.
Just don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They're lost with what to do. This girl, she's like, we've read every book. We've watched every video. We're in every Facebook group. We don't know how to scale our business. Like, okay, well, let's back up. Let's see where you are. And then we can start to make adjustments.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, and just relating that to us too, we just had a situation last week where, that's why I have a broker. That's why I have somebody who's been in this for so long.
Your coach.
Quite literally, coach and mentor. Yeah. Because I can call him and say, hey, I got this situation. I have thought through this whole thing, lost nights of sleep, and I don't know what to do. Yeah. And he's like, well, have you tried this? And I'm like, well, I should have just called you to start off with, man. I really should have. You know? So that's I get what you're saying there. I feel like a lot of times having someone, and even sometimes it's just someone removed from the situation.
Not emotionally involved.
Exactly. Just offer, up advice. And you mentioned just a little bit ago that kind of thought change of, a video for $60 versus a coaching package for 10 grand. How would you advise, and this is kind of like a two for question. So number one, at what point do you feel like someone who is successful in any kind of business could potentially make a switch over to coaching? And then how do you feel like, or what advice would you give to people who are struggling with their value, or they should be charging more, but maybe they're that kind of imposter syndrome?
So for coaching specifically,
yes, please.
Okay, yeah. So I remember that question you asked me about the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So basically, it's something that is in a lot of like newer beginner, and it's kind of been like coined. So like beginner service-based people. So for me as a realtor, when I first started, I was 20 years old. And so there was a point about 3-4 months in where I started getting contracts and started getting deals. And I had my broker behind me supporting me, but for the most part, it was me handling my transactions. And after I started getting those first couple paychecks, I was like, I'm 20 years old. I've never bought a house.
Right.
Why should I be getting paid this much money? Or we had a photographer friend who, she just, I don't know if she just started charging for her sessions or just upped her prices or something, but she just made a post saying how, she felt like it's a difficult switch to make. And it's hard to know and understand your own value, and assign a dollar amount to that.
Sure. And I think everything is going to be graduated, right? So when I was working for a pizza place and I was making $14 an hour, that was good money for where I was. Yeah. And as I graduated into making what I call now, I say it jokingly, doctor money, right? Washing house, because that's what it is, right? You're making 6+ figures a year. Yeah. Slinging a little bit of bleach on the house. And of course, I mean, we do it well and we make sure our customers are happy and things. But it's oversimplified, of course. But I think that this may be mind blowing, but we always, even right now, there's no one person, I don't believe, that is underpaid in the United States. I believe that everybody gets paid according to the value they bring to the marketplace.
Yeah.
So
I definitely agree.
If you're going to bring that value to the marketplace, then you're going to get paid for it. But if you don't, you're not going to. So if you looked at yourself, you said, I don't get paid enough. How can I bring more value to that marketplace?
I think that's the biggest thing. Even, and this is a big rabbit trail, but like minimum wage, people get paid in proportion to the problems they solve, or the value they bring. I think that's along the same lines of what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. A minimum wage, we was never designed to be a permanent place,
a living wage for people.
Right. It was supposed to be a place where you could run, where you could get in low level, learn some skills, and grow, right?
Yeah.
The reason that it's a law is because there's too many businesses that wouldn't abide, and they would pay lower than minimum wage based on what someone felt their value was. Right? So if you have somebody that feels like their value is $2 an hour, and they come and they are like, hey, I feel like that's what I'm worth.
Heck, I'll pay you $2 an hour.
Right. So we have the minimum wage. The minimum wage was not there to support it's there to protect the employee, but it wasn't supposed to be a place to stay, So you refine your skills, you're better at it, you bring something to the workforce that's valuable, and you'll always be paid commensurate with the value that you bring to the market. Always. So right now, do I feel like I bring $10,000 worth of value to the marketplace? It's hard for me because I've just started, right? To say, this is proven, just like your friend just increased prices. I always tell my clients, always be increasing your prices. That's not even a good grammatical sentence, but always be doing that, right?
Yeah.
And so, like for power washing, we're always increasing prices. When we first started out, we didn't have any market share. 0.
Yeah.
So now, full supply, no demand. So you charge less. You gain experience. You get your reviews. You get notoriety in your community, your trucks out there, you're improving your processes, your systems, your customer service is going up. Then you say, hey, my demand is increasing, so my prices will increase also. Same thing is true with coaching. I'm not high demand. So I'm not at the $10,000 mark. That's where I want to be, and maybe even higher. But like my coaching packages aren't that high right now.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm new. Right, I've just started this. I'm not a high demand coach, right? I know what I can do, but no one else does.
Yeah, and that's you have to prove that track record over time.
It's got to be proven.
Is there a way that you would advise people to know? Maybe it's if you're too busy, you should increase your prices. Is that like
always?
Would that be a good?
Yeah. So people. Common misconceptions, and I have some power washing friends that operate on the opposite side of my mentality. Neither one is right or wrong, but his mentality specifically is just book the job. I don't care how much it is. Here's our minimum
just
price.
Say yes to everything.
Just get its volume, volume, and he does well. I work a whole lot less than he does, and he makes more money than me because he has the volume, but per hour I know I make more money than he does, right? Because every time the phones are off the hooks, my prices are going up. If you need a service done, let's just be honest, pressure washing is a luxury service, right? It's not like you have to have your house washed. So you might, like if you're moving out or something, but it's a luxury service. There's no one in dire need of a house wash, right? Like I have to have this.
That's like one of the last things.
Exactly. Yep. So it's not like your ideal client is different in that industry. And so I've slowly over the years, I've increased my minimum prices so that if it used to be, I'd show up for anything.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do when your schedule's open.
Yeah.
Right. And then when you get busy, you increase your prices a little bit. Again, there's no rules.
Yeah.
Right. This is your business.
Yeah.
If you go too high, guess what?
No one's gonna hire
you. One's gonna hire you. So what do? You come back down and you find that middle ground, and eventually you become that person in your field, whatever field it is, where they're like, I would pay a lot of money to spend 10, 15 minutes with that person, or for them to fix my car, to go buy a car there, to buy my house from them because they've got clout, they've got market share.
Yeah.
So your prices always should be going up as your business is expanding and growing, developing clout, getting those reviews and those ratings and things back from your clients, because those are, in any business, this, you have to build 3 things in order for someone to do business with you. They have to know you, they have to like you, and they have to trust you. Right?
Yeah.
So your referrals and your reviews are trust on credit. Right? So someone else is going to give you trust to come to their house based on what someone else said about you.
That's interesting.
Right?
It's like that social proof.
Right. It's on credit, though. You can blow it.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good clip.
Great
right
analogy. Yeah.
So I've signed up for things that I found out later were bad because of the person that recommended it. Like, I've dropped a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars on things because I had a friend that I trusted.
Yeah.
And he said, dude, you need this. And I'm
you
like,
don't
cool.
trust him anymore?
I do, actually. Yeah, it's funny.
I'm just teasing.
No, I really, I had to question myself, right?
Yeah,
I was like, hey, this
kinda
is the
audit.
second time I've done this. How do I really feel about his advice? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, maybe I didn't get what I was expecting, but I got a lot out of that.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, probably a coaching package. I love buying coaching just as much as I love selling it because I know it's adding value to me.
Yeah.
I've gone through not Grant Cardone, The Compound Effect. What's that guy's name?
Oh, man.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I've read that book.
Wonderful book. Went through his coaching. Loved it.
That's going to kill me.
I was going to say Dan something, but that's not it.
I read it a long time ago.
Darren Hardy.
Okay, yeah.
So, and then I've spent money on coaches, and I've had my share. Obviously, I've had my fair share of fitness coaches.
Yeah, no, we can tell, man. You look great.
Thanks.
Where are you currently going to the gym?
Yeah, I'm house.
Oh, really?
I have a COVID gym.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
So I've spent a lot of money on that gym.
Have you
It
really?
looks really nice.
I'll bet it does.
I don't use it.
No, I was just going to ask. Yeah, it looks nice.
It looks pretty, man. The whole rack and everything.
Oh, that's funny.
It could be on all the Facebook lifting group pages.
Oh, yeah. Yep. You post all the pictures of your beautiful gym.
Yeah,
It stays
everybody's
clean.
pre-workout is.
Oh, that's funny, man. Well, I had a few other questions that I kind of had, there was things that I wanted to dissect, but I feel like we've covered a lot of ground.
Absolutely.
There's 2 final things that I wanted to ask, just kind of one, and maybe this is something that we've covered already, but when you start a new business, how would you summarize and what advice would you give for someone in order to make sure that previous businesses don't fail or suffer? Come back to processes and systems.
Oh, you mean having too much on the plate?
Yeah.
So what I had to do was, I have 4, essentially, obviously my church is not a business, but we operate it, as a nonprofit. So there's income and expenses and things. But I categorized them all in a 4 priority order of money-making activities, right? So, and this may tie in a little bit with time management.
Okay.
So time management, the way that I look at things is you have priorities, responsibilities, and tasks, right? Tasks and responsibilities may be in there, but priorities are number 1. So priorities and responsibilities, there is a vast difference between those two, right? Priorities are your family, your faith, your job is a priority because it provides your life, right?
It's
your
necessary.
Ability to, So what's a responsibility? Picking the kids up from school, right? It's not a priority. Someone else can pick the kids up, right? Someone else can put gas in your car. That's a responsibility that maybe you have, but it can go away. A priority is something that only you can do. So when you put your calendar together for the week, you're looking at your priorities. Where do these priorities go? And they get scheduled first. That may be your date night, maybe your time with your kids. That may be your work. I mean, you got to schedule your work. But what we tend to do is we tend to schedule our task list first. And so what happens is we have a bunch of stuff that keeps us really super busy, and our family suffers.
Yeah.
And our other money-making things suffer, and our families suffer, and our kids aren't seeing us, and these are the things that I ran into. So I had to dedicate a time, not only in my week, but I had to dedicate my calendar to my family first, my faith first. These are the things that define me as a person, right? So they've got to be a priority for me. Mm-hmm. So if that means like I go to date night, but something happens at the coffee shop that may have been an emergency for someone, it probably wasn't an emergency for me.
Yeah.
Life will go on. But my job is to protect my marriage at all costs.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's your priority.
That's it. Like the church closes, the power washing truck gets in a crash and totals, the coffee shop closes, nobody ever calls me again as a coach. Fine, I'll find something else to do.
Yeah.
But I only want one wife. Right?
Yeah. Well, that's good to know.
And I don't want somebody else raising my kids.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
That's my priority. And so that's how I go into things the same way. And I'm not 100% at it. Like I still have a lot of room where
Everyone
I can
does.
fix that, right?
Yeah.
But looking at your priorities first, and I'll also say like being the owner or operator, I guess, of several businesses isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
And I would say almost like looking back on it, I've probably taken on too much, for me to really keep my priorities where they are. Mm-hmm. Life being different, if I didn't have 7 kids or if they were all older or whatever, my decisions would be different. But you have to evaluate, how is this going to affect my priorities, right? How is this, anything in life, how is this house payment going to affect my priorities? Am I still going to be able to do the things I need to do?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
How is taking on another business, starting another business, or even getting a promotion, how is that going to affect the dinner at the table that my family wants?
Yeah.
All those things play in. And at the end of the life, and I hate to be so cliche, at the end of your life, nobody's going to ask you, did you work hard enough? Right? Some of this stuff just doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true.
It just doesn't matter
in the long term. Yeah.
So I don't know if that helps at all, but
that's the answer that I was kind of looking for.
You have to be cautious because it's easy, especially as entrepreneurs and visionaries, to reach too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Into multiple different things, and everything suffers because you still only have 100% of your day, right? So if you have 100% of your day and you're pouring it into what you're dedicated to 100% of the time, it's going to grow.
Yeah.
But if you start adding stuff to it, something will
suffer.
And it'll go down to mediocrity or worse. Right? So it can be a mistake, and it's definitely a balance. And I have to choose from one week to the next.
Yeah.
What is the number one thing for me this week? And some days, hey, you know what? Stuff happens at the coffee shop, and I'm like, it's fine.
Somebody else can
let it go.
Yeah.
Because something else is more important over here, and you have to be okay with that, or have a great team. And I have a little bit of both. Yeah,
well,
I'm okay with it,
good
and
balance.
I have an okay team. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have been recording for a good amount of time now, so I know you're a busy guy, and we got to let you go. But first of all, let me just ask you, where do you want us to send people? How can people contact you and reach out and learn more about you?
So, I'm pretty accessible. I hate to give out my cell phone number, but I will give a cell phone number that if someone wanted to text, I do get the communication on it. It's just not as in your face.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that number is a local number here. It's 850-604-1168, and they can just text me, and I'll get it on my phone. It's just, like I said, it's just a little bit less intrusive.
Yeah, a little filtered.
Yeah, I'm always willing to help anybody that needs help and is willing to help themselves. I'm on social media. I'm here to help people, and it's just kind of my sometimes I don't know how to say no, right? To things. You
want to help.
You do. Yeah. You have that desire to help people, and as a coach, and I have several other coach friends that are like this. Like, we would almost rather do it for free. Mm-hmm. Like, will you just do it for free? And a lot of us would say, yeah, I'd love to. But then we run into that. Yep. People just won't do it.
You're not going to do it. Yeah. And then you're not being effective and you're using your time.
Time.
Understandable.
Yeah. So that's, if somebody wanted to text, they could. Of course, I'm on social media, Jeremy Harris, here local in Pensacola. And that's about it.
Love it, man. That's awesome. Well, we'll put some links to some of your socials in the in the description as well. So,
Right.
For sure.
Jeremy, we appreciate you coming on the podcast. I
Yeah,
feel like
it
this has
was my
been
pleasure.
really,
It's been
we've been
awesome.
all over the place,
Yeah,
but
it's cool.
a lot of value. So it's really exciting.
Awesome.
I appreciate
Glad
you
to
coming
hear
on.
that. Yeah, for sure.